also like to welcome all of our foreign dignitaries and Congressman Carlos Curbelo and Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. Followed by Director General Philip Wong and Adolfo Sun, and Father Suarez S.J., President of Belen. At this time, I'd like to have Mr. Eduardo Abascal, Student Council President, please come to the podium.
On behalf of the Belen Jesuit Student Body and Student Council, I would like to welcome our distinguished guests and wish you a Sinyang Kwale, a Happy New Year. Having our guests from St. Ignatius High School at Belen these last 2 weeks has been great. I've had the opportunity to meet and get to know them, and I thank the administration of both schools for making this unique experience possible. Today we are gathered not only to celebrate the Chinese New Year, but also to celebrate this new partnership with our sister school and the opportunities afforded to us to learn about the Chinese language and culture, both at Belen and by traveling as part of our exchange programs, as the Overseas Study Program to Asia and our Cultural Exchange Program. We owe a big thank you to Mr. Charles Cleveland for his work in organizing all of these great opportunities. I would ask you to all to help me join welcoming him. Thank you, Mr. Cleveland.
Thank you, Mr. Abascal. I'd like to go ahead and begin with the introductions of our guests. Again, we have Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, a dear friend of Belen. Congressman Carlos Curbelo, alumnus from the class of 1998. Director General Philip Wong of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Center of Miami. Vice Consul Adolfo Sun. We also welcome the prominent business leaders from the Chinese community and guests of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Center of Miami. Thank you, members of the administration, faculty, staff, parents, and students. As said before, today not only marks the beginning of the new year in the Chinese calendar, but also the celebration of our two countries in establishing a foreign exchange program between Belen Jesuit Preparatory School in Miami and St. Ignatius High School in Taipei. And I would also like to extend, even though it's about 2 a.m. in the morning in Taipei, this is streaming. So therefore, we just like to say Huan Ying, Principal Chen of St. Ignatius High School in Taipei, Taiwan. At this time, I would like to introduce Father Pedro Suarez, S.J., President of Belen Jesuit Preparatory School, who will lead us in the invocation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cleveland. And first, I want to add my own welcoming words to representative from Congress, Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, and Carlos Curbelo. Carlos Curbelo may not like what I'm going to say, but he was my altar boy in Hialeah many, many years ago. So we go back many, many years. And all of the dignitaries, and most especially I want to thank Mr. Philip Wang, who has graced our school today, and in anticipation I'm going to say he has a wonderful gift for us. Jesuits have been in China since the 16th century, when Father Matteo Ricci, an Italian Jesuit priest, began to work in China. He was a scientist, a cartographer, and he learned Chinese and immersed himself in the Chinese culture, which he loved until he died. Inspired by him, the Matteo Ricci Club was created last year to better understand Chinese culture and customs, while actively supporting the missionary work of the Hispanic Italian Catholic community in Asia. Jesuits have long believed that learning languages, exposing ourselves to different cultures, immersing ourselves in different experiences, all help to enrich our Ignatian education. With that in mind, we welcome this partnership with our sister school in Taipei, St. Ignatius Loyola, and open the doors to educating our students with the tools they will need in this global marketplace. Today, we are honored and humbled to receive a very generous gift from our friends at the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Miami. The silk replica of 100 horses by the Jesuit Italian-Chinese painter Brother Giuseppe Castiglione represents a fusion of Western and Chinese artistic imagination. The painting, which was done in 1728, represents an early masterpiece of Castiglione's syncretic style of East and West. It will be displayed properly on our campus for all to see. Thank you to Director General Philip Wang and all our distinguished guests for being here with us on this momentous occasion for Belen Jesuit. May I invite all of you to bow our heads in prayer to receive the Lord's blessing. Almighty God, we ask your blessing on all of us who are present here. We ask your blessing on the Republic of China in Taiwan and all of the Chinese people everywhere in the world as they begin their new year. We ask your blessing on our teachers, our parents, our friends, our companions, our colleagues. Make us aware of your love and your presence in our lives. Make us act according to your will. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. I now welcome back to the podium Dean Charlie Cleveland.
This friendship between our schools, St. Ignatius and Belen, is the reason that we have our guests of honor here with us today. These 5 students here with us today, being hosted by 5 Belen families. And this has paved the way for Belen students to travel to Taiwan this spring break to visit St. Ignatius High School in Taipei. I'd like to introduce them. First, if you'd please stand, Richard Chang, being hosted by the Andujas families, represented by Daniel Andujas. Please stand. We thank you, we welcome you. Jason Lan, please rise. He is here and is hosted by the Chapella family, represented by Renato. Mr. Eric Chen, hosted by the Cairo family, represented by Michael. Mr. Bill Cheng, the Tamburell family, represented by Nicholas Tamburell. And Paul Chung, represented by the Rice family, Tavish here. Before we begin with the festivities and then on with the rest of the program, I would like to say, Mrs. Chu, thank you very much. You have done far more than we could ever ask or think, decorating here today so tastefully, so authentically, in honor of the students, in honor of our school. We just want to say thank you so much. She is our modern language teacher of Mandarin and the elective class, which I highly recommend to everyone, Introduction to Chinese Language and Culture. However, at this time, without further ado, I would like to introduce, first I would like to go ahead and say, Xinyan Kuai Happy New Year, and we bring out Li Quan Hung Kung Fu, who will have a demonstration for us at this time. I would ask that all students please remain in your chairs during this presentation. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get another round of applause for Li Kung Fu. Thank you. Xinyan Kuale. This time in the ceremony, I'd like to introduce the principal of Belen Jesuit Preparatory School, Dr. Reyes Garcia.
My dear students, please don't try this at home nor in school. This requires a lot of practice and dedication. Now back to the script. Xiao Wu Hao, good afternoon. This is certainly a historic moment for our school. For the first time ever, Belen Jesuit is participating in this student foreign exchange program with our fellow Jesuit school in Taiwan, St. Ignatius of Loyola. This marks a new era in Belen Jesuit's commitment to offer our students the best possible education in a global world. As a Jesuit school, we continue to challenge our students academically and personally to live the Magus by expanding our scholarly experiences and venturing on learning an entirely new alphabet, new language, and new culture. This has been possible thanks to a vision that finally materialized this year with the addition to our curriculum of the Introduction to Chinese Language and Culture. The expansions of the Overseas Study Program to China and the enthusiasm of the Overseas Study Program and the Mateo Ricci Club, both led by our Dean of Discipline, Mr. Charles Cleveland, have also contributed enormously to the success of the program. As Mr. Cleveland mentioned, we are tremendously indebted to Ms. Xiao Chi Chu for graciously accepting the challenge to teach the 2 sections of our Mandarin classes. It is remarkable to see how these students are expressing themselves in Mandarin and writing paragraphs in the language. We want to extend our gratitude to her and to her family in Taiwan for the beautiful decorations that have embellished this joyous festivity. As Mr. Cleveland said, we wouldn't have this beautiful Garrido Plaza without your contributions. Thank you once again to our distinguished guests, most especially United States Representative Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, United States Representative Carlos Curbelo, and Mr. Philip Wang, who is now a dear friend to our school who has been visiting us frequently this past year, Director General of Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Miami. It has been a sincere joy to host the 5 students from St. Ignatius of Loyola in Taipei: Richard Chang, Eric Chen, Bill Cheng, Paul Chung, and Jason Lan. We hope that you have gained a greater understanding of our country, our culture, and our languages, because not only have they been practicing English, but they have been pretty fluent in Spanish. I know that they have picked up on phrases like hacer que volar, you can imagine, and they're already asking each other for their names. Last but not least, these young men and the Belen community would not have been able to participate in this enriching opportunity if it would not have been for the 5 wonderful Belen families that opened their homes to our guests and to the students that have been with them every step of the way. For me personally, as your principal, I have witnessed that openness from our Belen community and how they have welcomed them with open hearts and has truly filled me with joy and pride. God bless you and keep enjoying this last week. Thank you.
the next person I'd like to call to the podium is an incredibly warm and charismatic leader that has a genuine love for Belen and a tremendous understanding of its history. I am proud to welcome to our campus the first Hispanic woman to serve in Congress and a member of the House of Representatives, Cuban-American Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. And, you know, as a former educator, I believe that she understands and values this unique partnership that we are establishing with our Jesuit counterpart in Taipei. As the chairman emeritus of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, she knows firsthand the importance of being prepared to live and work in an increasingly connected world, and one that heavily relies on a better understanding of other cultures. Please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen.
Well, thank you so very much. It is always a joy and a blessing to be here at Belen Jesuit. Every time I get the opportunity to shake your hands and to say hello and get your greetings in return, I'm awed by the passion and the enthusiasm of the intellect of the boys of Belen. You come from a fine tradition. You know what the background of Belen is, and may you live up to that proud legacy and high code of ethics every day in your lives and every moment in your lives. I'm proud to say it is almost like my second home. Where's Mr. Collins? He's always kind to say hello, and he's somewhere over there. And I have had the pleasure of having, and still continue to have, staff who are graduates of Belen, like Ariel Fernandez, who's there in our audience, and Eddie Acevedo, who is the staff director of our Middle East and North Africa subcommittee, but no greater alum of Belen than Carlos Curbelo. I know that he's happy to be elected, but I tell him that I'm almost as happy to have him elected and be proud, a proud member of our South Florida congressional delegation, because we are una familia. And I'm a proud supporter of our democratic ally, Taiwan, have been a tireless supporter of making sure that they have cutting-edge, advanced technology. We have a China that's ever rising. We have a Taiwan, though, who is there as our democratic ally, who's a leader in human rights, in democratic governance, in the rule of law, everything that our proud representative democracy was founded upon. So thank you to our allies in Taiwan. Thank you to the Belen community, and may you one day soon return to my native homeland of Cuba following those democratic principles. Muchísimas gracias, Belén. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think I can outdo that, Carlos, but I'm very excited. I guess it comes with being around for too long around here to say that I'd like to welcome home a former student of mine, you know, who we all knew would go on to do something special with his life. I mean, as the student body president in 1998, he gave us a glimpse of what was to come. He is a former member of the Miami-Dade County School Board and a newly elected member of the House of Representatives. Please join me in welcoming one of our own, Belen alumnus, Congressman Carlos Curbelo.
Thank you, Mr. Cleveland. Thank you, Father Suarez, for inviting me to this special event. It's always an honor to be with the Director General of our great ally, Taiwan, and of course, with the Dean of our delegation, this lady right here. She's in charge of all of us in Washington, D.C. We always follow her, so it's wonderful to be here with Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, and of course, with all of you, the student body of Belen Jesuit Preparatory School, and most especially with our guests from Taiwan, who I hope have had a wonderful time here and a great experience. So thank you very much for having me. I'll be very honest with you, I never thought that I would be celebrating a Chinese New Year at Belen. I could have never imagined it, but the more that you think about it, the more it makes sense. Number one, we're reminded of the universal nature of the mission of the Society of Jesus. The Jesuits have spread the message of Christ all over the world and continue doing so today. And our unity here today, students from Florida and from Taiwan, reminds us of that. Number two, as my colleague said, Taiwan and the United States share a set of values that are increasingly important in today's world. Think about it. We live in a world today where innocent people are being burned alive, where Americans are being decapitated, and we need more nations and stronger relationships with nations like Taiwan, the only Chinese government that truly respects human rights, that truly understands how dangerous this world is and how important it is for the nations that value freedom, democracy, respect for human rights to band together. So that's why Ileana Ros-Lehtinen and I, together with many other members of Congress, including Mario Diaz-Balart, who represents the district where Belen is located, we work to strengthen that relationship with Taiwan. And now Belen becomes part of that effort to grow stronger ties with the Taiwanese people that are so important to us in this increasingly dangerous world. Ileana, since you pointed out some Belen alumni, I want to point out one that works with me, and that's Roy Schulteis, my chief of staff, class of 2002. And I also want to reiterate in closing something that Ileana said. There are many wonderful Belen alumni out there that are making a difference in the world. Those of you that went to Close Up recently got to know many of those that are making a difference in Washington, D.C. You are part of that beautiful, important tradition. Try to live up to it every day and make the most out of your time here at Belen. It is not infrequent that I think back at my time here, and sometimes I say, I wish that just for one day I could go back and be a student at Belen. Thank you all very much. Happy New Year.
At this time, I'm going to introduce another one of our guests of honor. I'd like to preface this by saying, thanks to the tireless efforts of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Center of Miami, as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so many blessings have come for the students and teachers of Belen. Grants, scholarships are available for those who wish to travel to Taiwan, study Mandarin at Fujian Catholic University, as well as Tamkam University. It is a tremendous honor. I met this man a year and a half ago, and he is just a humble man. He's working constantly behind the scenes, and I know he feels the same because we consider him our friend. I would like to introduce at this time and ask to come to the podium Director General Philip Wong of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office of Miami, Florida. My brother.
Father Suarez, Principal Reyes Garcia, Honorable Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, and Honorable Congressman Carlos Curbelo, and Dr. Ye, Commissioner of Overseas Chinese Affairs Commission, and Chinese community leaders here in Miami, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and all members of faculty and all students of Belen. It is such a great pleasure and honor for me to be here today. to present a magnum opus of a very famous Jesuit painter, Castiglione, to this great school. He painted this 100-horse picture about 290 years ago. And it is so well preserved in the National Palace Museum. And this is what is a specious time, because today is the first day of the lunar calendar new year, and while we have 5 outstanding students from Taiwan St. Ignatius High being here with all of us, I'd like to present this picture first.
If possible, Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, Congressman Carlos Curbelo, please.
Some 18 months ago, I received a call from Honorable Congresswoman Ros-Lehtinen's office, her senior foreign advisor, informing me that Congresswoman mentioned it's a great opportunity for Taiwan to cooperate with Berlin for cultural exchange. I came here, I met Father Suarez, Principal Reyes Garcia, and Dr. Cleveland. I was so impressed with their enthusiasm in education and in cultural exchange. Today, we have 5 young students here from Taiwan that epitomized our efforts. This is the very beginning of many cultural events to be cooperated in the future. Since Martin Rich's arrival in China 433 years ago, hundreds of Jesuit brothers visited China, promoted cultural exchange, and doing very well missionary and educational work. Now in Taiwan, it's a country supporting freedom and democracy, fully believe in the freedom of religion and association. Jesuit brothers, for the past years, have rebuilt since the prosecution since 1950 in Chinese mainland, the persecution of Catholic and other religions. Jesuit Brothers has established in Taiwan a Furen Catholic University, which is my alma mater, and St. Ignatius High and Aloysius Technical School, and many, many kindergartens, preschools, many churches, and many cultural establishments. And I just urge all my friends here, when you have student exchange program, you're subject to culture shocks. Let me tell you some culture shock stories. A Catholic, American Catholic father asked his counterpart in Taiwan, tell me the difference between those Chinese Catholic in Taiwan and American Catholics in United States. The father in Taiwan said, I notice they are more pious than we Americans. Can you tell me why? And he said, I noticed when they read the Bible, when we read it, okay, an American investor visited his company in Taiwan. He was received by 5 young people in the front gate of his invested company. One of the young men walked out. He introduced to his American boss, Sir, let me introduce ourselves. He is Xu. He is her. Who is him? She is you. And puzzled, this American investor say, are you serious? And this guy answered, yes, sir, I'm true. Because she, her, you, who, true, all are Chinese family names. I appreciate all of your support for this exchange program, especially to those host families. Without your help, this program won't be so successful. Thank you very, very much, and let's cooperate even further for more programs to come. Thank you very much.
At this time, we'd like to show our appreciation. I'd like to ask Father Suarez, president of the school, Belen Jesuit Preparatory School, and also Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, Congressman Carlos Curbelo, and Director General Philip Wong to please come forward.
We always learn from each other. And I want to say that I have learned from the Chinese the art of giving. And there is hardly a meeting with any Chinese official that there is not an exchange of gifts. We give what we are, what we have. We give ourselves, each other, the smiles and the welcoming gesture. So today, as a sign of our thanksgiving, our appreciation for what they have done for Belen and what they have done for all of our students and for the future of the school, I'd like to present Mr. Philip Wong with a copy of a book that is hardly out in print now. It's been published just for a few days, so he's going to have one of the first examples of this book that has been written by a historian about the message of Belen throughout 150 years and beyond. It's called Man for Others, the story, Belen Jesuit story. I would like to give one of these copies to Mr. Wang.
All right. Wow, that is meaningful.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
I'd like to present Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen with her own copy. I think that she will
Thank
be
you.
delighted to have that in her office.
Absolutely.
Whenever time permits, you can look at it.
I will. I will be honored to do so. Thank you.
And Carlos, here is a copy for you too, so that you will never forget what Belen has meant for you in your life and what you mean for Belen today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. This is great.
Father? Father? Before dismissing, I'd like to say a few words in closing to this tremendous celebration, ceremony of our friends from just about as far east as you can go. When starting this out, it was a humble beginning. I cannot take any credit for the Matteo Ricci China Club, and at this particular time, I would like to, since we're streaming live, since, cameras, I would like to make sure that the proper people get credit, and not myself, or the school for that matter. When Belen embarked on this Asian initiative in 2013, it was with the Matteo Ricci China Club. It was a way that we could be able to experience culture of the Chinese people, and it was founded by then senior, now alumnus, Miguel Zaldivar. And wherever you are right now, you may be at University of Pennsylvania, I'd just like everyone to go ahead and clap, because really that was the inception of everything. From there, it moved on to an offshoot of the Overseas Study Program designed to help those students travel to the Republic of China now and visit Jesuits all around the world, wherever they would be, in order to bring awareness to this culture. And when Director General Philip Wang and Mrs. Chu and we, Father Suarez, Dr. Wenzel and myself flew to Taiwan, we were amazed. And as we understood it as the class began, not only because of our relationship with Taiwan and their generosity with the grants and scholarships, but the State Department of the United States classifies Mandarin as an essential language. And to prove it as an incentive, they also offer an array of grants and scholarships for both students and teachers to learn the language that is spoken by 1.6 billion people. So when I invite delegates, congressmen, senators, commissioners to come here today, you see who feels strong for Taiwan. You see who's a supporter of human rights, freedom of religion. Not in mainland China, you don't have Facebook. That's about as clear as it's going to get. Taiwan, you do. I would like also to say that Senator Marco Rubio, had it not been for the fact that he was on a plane headed towards Florida, would have also graced our stage. And being the senator that he is, he sent someone over here, Aline Fernandez. Where are you? Please. No, you're not going to get away with that. Please rise and welcome Aline Fernandez from the office, the Regional Director for Senator Marco Rubio, who's here present with us right now, as well as Mario Diaz-Balard's office, who sent Yamel Benskosme. Where's Yamel? There, okay. This entire thing, let's just put this in perspective. The only person that's going to be getting any credit for this is going to be God. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm not that smart and I'm not that good. And I will tell you that years ago in 2013, when this started happening, there is no way that I could have perfectly planned out the fact that the Matteo Ricci China Club, we were going to be getting a tremendous donation by the Taiwan government of his assistant, Brother Castiglione, whose painting you saw on silk canvas, the original in the National Palace Museum in Taipei, would ever happen. I'll also like to let you know that I was very, very worried, because when we went to Taiwan, we found out that all the Taiwan people there welcomed us so graciously. They were amazing, and to be honest with you, I was a little concerned when these guys came over here, because I thought, maybe we're going to treat them like visitors and not guests. But let me tell you, Belen, it's not very often I can say this in my life, and you guys know I'm not a mushy type of person, but you all stepped up to the plate. You welcomed These strangers, you made them feel like guests, welcomed them into your home. You received no compensation for that other than you opened up your heart. So again, I give God the glory there. In essence, Belen, what you have done, and in front of all these dignitaries, congressmen, aides, business people, I would just like to say that you guys have honored God, you guys have honored Belen, and you are now all official ambassadors from Belen, Florida, and the United States of America, because that's the only experience that they will ever have. Thank you very much for everything that you have done. They will be departing on Tuesday morning. Thank you, parents. And also, there's a couple more people have to do it. I got to tell you, Father Rojas as well, Mrs. Chu. Where are you, Mrs. Chu? I've been talking about you all night long. Okay, she's over there in red, of course. Gentlemen, your comportment was phenomenal. Parents, I know you must be very proud. And by the way, we will be accepting applications for those students that wish to travel to Taipei this spring break at very little expense. You'll have to fill out an application. Many thanks to everyone here once again. Director General Philip Wong. Also, I would like to recognize Vice Consul Adolfo Sun, who is also here. He was with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs when we went to Taiwan. Again, Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, Congressman Curbelo, Belen administration, our reverend guests. I want to thank you, and I'm going to close in a moment. At this time, I'd like to invite our honorees, our honored guests, to a very humble reception in the library. Students, excellent work. Excellent work. I will tell you that. I am not easily impressed. You've stepped up to this occasion as well. Thank you, host families. Thank you, host students. And also thank you for the students that these students had to shadow who were seniors who gave up their time. All this is honoring of God and leads to the further glory of God. So we thank you. I'd ask you to stay put where you are. When the bell rings, you're going to need to go back to your classes and get your bags. But for the moment, do not head downstairs yet until we process out to the library. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you, Director General Philip Wong. Thank you, Taipei, Taiwan. Thank you, everyone.